Yay. This is going to be awesome today. And I know it's 4th of July week and people are on vacation, so for y'all who are still here, yay, thank you for coming. So, before we get started, like, we're halfway through the year. How are y'all doing? Like, good, nuts, wish it could be better, kind of in between, or right on target?
Wish it could be better.
Wish it could be better, okay. Who else?
On target-ish.
On target-ish. On target.
I have a lot going on right now, but overall for the year, I was so slow in the spring that I'm still behind.
Do you like, if you took out the beginning of the year, would you say this past quarter on target?
Like way above target.
Oh, so you're making up for first quarter.
But I got so much at one time that it's like more than my bandwidth can handle.
Okay, well, we can hit that. Who's ahead? Okay, yeah, that's actually probably like somewhat good, probably, you know, and in theory, meaning you should have goals that make you stretch, but you know, if you hit them, that's great, but then it's like, maybe I should have stretched it a little more, I don't know. Like, people who said they're a tad behind their goal, like, kind of what is like, this, like, that, you know, was determined, like, what's the reasoning just
Deals
to have
that need
behind?
to go.
I'm sorry?
Deals that need to go.
Deals that need to go, meaning are they eating up time, or are they just...
No, they just need to go. House needs to close.
Oh, it's just you're waiting the
buyer and
process.
seller together.
Yeah, and have that.
Listing needs to come on the market. Seller needs to get their act together. Buyer needs to get their act together.
The process is taking longer, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Not just like days on market, but or days on market.
Higher prices, the days on market are like longer than
Yes, higher prices, days on market, very much longer. But like, what's also taking longer?
People deciding to make the move.
Okay.
So
Figuring out where they're going to go.
My perception is that I think we were anticipating prices would increase this year.
Yes.
Prices really did not increase, at least in my, out in my Peachtree Corners little world outside.
Yeah.
And so I have sellers that are unrealistic with where their prices really should be at.
Correct.
And I have buyers that are saying, ooh, I need to be able to get a deal because I just saw on clarkhoward.com or whatever that I should be able to get a deal right now.
Right.
So it's...
Dealing with perceptions that may be not accurate, right? Perhaps? Okay. What
it
else?
leaves the deal undone is what.
I'm sorry, say
It leaves the deal undone.
It leaves the deal undone. Correct. Because there's a lot more, you have to bridge that gap a little more. Perhaps. All right, what else is, we said taking longer. What else is taking longer? Just buyers making decisions, right, Stephanie? Is that what you said?
Deciding where they're going to go, so they're not listing their place because they haven't found the perfect home for the price range that's available, and they don't want to be stuck without a place to live, and how do you help them make that transition? And
Yeah. What else is taking longer? Process-wise, I mean, we know statistically days on market, blah, blah, blah. But like when we're interacting with our clients, why is it taking longer with our clients?
prep time because they're trying to make the property as perfect as possible because the competition's getting a little tougher.
Yay, they're realizing they actually got to get their house looking good, right?
Yeah.
Yay, oh my goodness, that's amazing. Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just throw it on the market and it'll sell.
Getting stuff ready, I'm in agreement, is taking longer. Prep time to get on the market. You got one shot to get on the market the first time. Yeah.
For some of the ones where they've had multiple agents interview, them making the decision just which agent they're going to go with. I feel like I haven't encountered that long of a wait time before.
You have let me repeat. You have not encountered long wait time by the time they interview and make the decision?
Yes.
That's probably accurate. And that's usually accurate. You know, because once somebody actually decides to call agents to interview, they've probably already been thinking about this for a little while. Mm-hmm. So if they take a long time to make a decision on their agent, that should be an indicator how the transaction is going to go.
Great.
Why should we
It's been
unless it's some like, and I would dig more. I would dig more going, you know, like, are they just dissatisfied with everything they've heard? And it's possible they've not met the right agent yet.
They've talked, well, in the one in particular that's still, we had the listing, but it's not on the market till next week.
Yeah.
It was because we said, look, we'll list at this price that you want, but you gotta do X, Y, and Z. And the other agent was like, well, let's drop it, you don't have to do anything. So I think that they were coming
Trying
up
to
with,
decide.
yeah. That was, I think, the biggest factor.
Good, because we'll talk about that in listing consultations, because do we give our sellers options? Because I do like to have pretty listings, but I could lose a listing if my clients don't want to do pretty. But then I have to tell them the truth. If you don't do pretty, then we have to greatly reflect that in the price, even though it still stays on the market longer. So we'll talk about that. What else is taking longer?
Getting a contract that sticks. A lot of contingent contracts.
Yeah, contingent contracts. So going to closing is taking longer.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they're contingent on the sale of another property. I'm on contract number 5 on one of my listings.
Oh, wow.
It's not been good. And it's been 2 of them have been contingent on another offer, and then the buyer couldn't qualify on the buyer's side, you know, purchasing their home. So it's
Because it's the domino effect. Like, we gotta sell to buy, which that seller has to sell to buy, which that's, you know, usually, until you get maybe some upper price points, and it doesn't matter. They just buy when they want to buy. You know, or the first timers, they have nothing to sell. So the domino effect. So if listings are taking longer to sell, perhaps those potential buyers are taking longer to build offer on that, right? So, Lisa.
I know this isn't the topic of today's class, but I wouldn't mind even hearing your thoughts more on like qualifying leads again.
Oh, good. We are talking about that.
Awesome, because
Yeah.
I definitely had a number of folks that like they seemed serious, they seemed qualified, and then we're a couple months in and like, I guess we just won't move. I guess we're gonna stay.
Okay.
Or we'll wait one more year. That kind of thing has been happening a fair bit.
And it's a matter of like how you're trying to build your business. Maybe that's still okay. Because I like closings in 2020. I'm okay with that. But that just means I need more leads in 2019. I like it when I know I have clients in 2020. Like, I walked into 19 knowing I already had some listings I was going to sell or put on the market. So, how about this? I'm going to throw this idea out there that when the market is kind of, some price points, obviously we're like, it is taking longer to sell. I think the real stat is that overall, now some areas of town could be a lot higher, perhaps some areas of town it could be less, it could be flat. But I think they said first quarter of 18 to first quarter of 19 was only about a 2% increase appreciation. So therefore, I really cannot price like 19 that much more than 18 now. Maybe first quarter always means a little lighter than like second or third price-wise. We've all seen the charts, you know, where the card charts where it says January, and then you move us to December, and then you always see like flat here, kind of up here, and then it comes down like this, and then it comes back up a little bit, you know, price points, you know, and this is, you know, what, February, March, April, May, June, July. Actually, this would be like July, because it actually starts coming down in August, September, October, November, then December. But, you know, so maybe here is like 2%, maybe here is like 3 or 4%, but understanding I'm not going to have the big gains from like 18 to 19. And honestly, if I was working with a buyer, I would say, hey, this is good news for you. You know, yes, like it's nice to actually have a market that's stabilizing, that while yes, it'd be great to always think that every year my price is up, but if we did that, someday prices will go down. But it should comfort a buyer to say, hey, look, we're actually getting to stabilizing of pricing and normalizing. The good news about Atlanta, especially if y'all came to that, the Beltline guy, you know, that's on YouTube. It wasn't, I don't think it was streamed live, but I think it's on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, you know, just saying how much our population is going to increase and all that. So it's like Atlanta's a very relatively safe market to buy and live in and stay in and for return on investment. But as a buyer, I feel like this is even comforting. As to a seller, oh yeah, we're bummed. We always wish our prices are like higher and higher and higher. But then at the same time, the good news is, if I'm a seller that wants to be a buyer, then it's like great. I get to no longer also buy way up there. So it's a very, to me, a very comforting stat. But here's where I'm going to go with this. So I feel like when the market is in a normalization and we're kind of in this period, I think it's actually quite good, especially if you have competition in your neighborhood, and especially if you know the other agents that has listings in the neighborhood you're listing. And you can kind of just talk to them, because I do want to caution us of this. We as agents can't drive down pricing, because meaning I know we sit longer and the market will tell us if we're overpriced because we're not getting the showings, we're not getting the activity we once did, but we also have to frame it going, we're not necessarily every single time going to sell a home in this market in one weekend. Some homes we will, some neighborhoods we will. And is my seller okay if it takes 2-3 weeks? Perhaps. Because I can tell you a real life scenario, like I'm in a townhome community, got one, we're under contract, and it was agents who constantly, did come on the market this spring, and in our case, it was like everybody was undercutting. This is a $500,000 range. Undercutted by 10 to 15K, 10 to 15K, 10 to 15K. I'm like, why are you doing that? Because you could call me, I will tell you the listing activity before you win the market. If you called me up as another listing agent in there and had a conversation with me, we could have worked together to like sell the neighborhood, you know, because, you know, when it comes into some communities, I think people pick things for different reasons. They may like the colored tile better in one over another. It has nothing to do, sometimes it's to do with price, but a lot of times it's not. So I think this is the time is like, if you actually have good agent relationships, which I want to encourage, then we can actually kind of work together, because a buyer is going to pick what the buyer wants. But either it will be price, either it's going to be a feature of the home that I cannot change, meaning they're going to like a lot yard better, they're going to like, you know, like whatever layout plan. Obviously, if it's paint, then I need to change my paint color or something. But things that I can't change. So I think it's actually, you know, sometimes good, you know, if you see there are other people listed in the neighborhood, give them a call, find out what's going on, and, you know, or develop at least good agent relationships. You may not call everybody, but if you have good agent relationships, it's like, we can like talk through this and see what happens. But anyway, like going on to this. Our topic today is about consultations, which I actually believe starts, when does a consultation actually start?
When you get the lead.
The minute you get the lead. Because that is their first impression. So, unless you already know them, and maybe it started the last time you stayed in touch with them or closed with them. But even so, I don't take anything for granted. So if I have a client that I've bought and sold with 3 or 4 times, if they call me again as another new lead, I have to take it serious enough as if I'd never worked with them again, understanding maybe how they work. That's the advantage of working with somebody in the past. But if they ever think I take their business for granted, that is the fastest way to lose business, even if it's somebody you know you've worked with in the past. So every new lead, and even if it's like a good friend of mine, I mean, I say stuff like this all the time. It's like, okay, you know what, I'm putting my realtor hat on. I'm gonna talk to you like a realtor right now. I know we went out and had dinner last night, but today I'm gonna talk to you like a realtor, and I can swap hats back and forth, because everybody wants to be treated as a professional, like with a professional in big decisions. So anyway, what do we want to talk about first? Because what I'm hoping, you know, I'll let y'all kind of help gear the conversation, talking consultations, but I think the consultation really begins at the lead, the first time you have that conversation. So we can start off with buyers, sellers. What are y'all in the mood to start off with?
Sellers.
Who wants sellers? Who wants to start with sellers? We'll hit both. Sellers? 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 Okay, great. Sellers, okay. So, all right, so if you got a call, let's start off with this, of like, maybe you called, you know, you're calling your database, like your routine calls, or they happen to call you. They say, hey, I'm thinking of selling this summer. y'all tell me, what are some of the things, how do you respond to that call?
Get the address.
I thank him for remembering me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, is it from a referral?
Let's just say, it could be, it could be someone you know, but, or it could be like you just make calls. So, let's say, lead calls, either received or you called out. All right, so first thing, think of them. I agree. Absolutely. What is after that? Okay, thank you for giving me a call. This is so great. I'm so glad to hear from you.
I suppose I'd try to find their motivations. Where are you moving to?
Okay. Motivation.
So, if they're moving to be close to something or whatever, they may be more motivated than someone that says, oh, it's about that time.
Okay. I completely agree. Like what, so do you ask questions, or I guess everybody's a little different. Some people start talking, or someone.
Well, some will launch into a story when you say, where are you moving to? You'll find out tons of things.
And what are the things you're listening for when they launch into that story?
Motivation.
Motivation. Like what are motivation indicators?
Timeliness.
So they may have a time frame, right?
Time frame or a certain amount of money they got to have, or time frame, not just that, but urgency. Because some people, you're trying to discern, can you leave the house on the market 2 months, or are you going to be driving me nuts if we don't have a contract the first weekend?
Correct. So then you start to dig in. Okay, that to me is a great, we'll get into that too, because that's a good, I'm going to write that, put over here. I'm going to call it expectations on how the sale should go. Because I agree. Like some people think it should be gone in 1 week, and maybe it could. And at some point, we can make every house gone in 1 weekend. It's just to be really like, and then some people it's more like, if I got it gone in 1 weekend, did I actually make enough? Right? Maybe you did. I don't know. Okay, what else? So you said you want motivation. What else are you hearing for to determine motivation?
I think just understanding the reason for
Reason. Yeah.
big why.
Kind of like their big why. Yeah, exactly. So like they want to move before the school year because they want to get into a certain school zone. They maybe they're like about to have a new baby and they just need more space. And so when does the baby due? And then do you really want to like move and then like a week later, give birth, or do you want to actually have time to set up a nursery? Or is it too late? Maybe you need to like have the baby and then after a little bit of time, after you settle into newborn phase, thinking through what's their big reason. Some of it is just like, I just hate my neighbors. Like I just can't stand that. So this kind of a conversation, do you say you all do this when you're on the phone, when you get this lead?
Yeah.
All right, so we heard their story, kind of why they want to move. What's also part of this? I just got the lead phone call.
I asked what updates they've done on the property so I know which comps to pull.
Okay, perfect. You asked about the property. All right, what specifically do you ask? You said updates.
Well, I get the address, and so I'll look it up in the MLS from where they last got it, or the tax records if I can't find it, and then I ask what updates they've done so that I know, does the kitchen still look like that, bathrooms, floors, because that's going to determine which comps I bring them at the appointment.
Okay. So they said, hey, I live at 123 Main Street, and then your next question would be, like, you're like, hey, Miss Seller Kelly, what's your address? I go 123 Main Street, and then, okay, great, you wrote that down, and then what do you do next?
Probably ask when they bought it and confirm that that was their listing, so I'm looking at the rate.
So you're actually pulling up the listing while you're talking to them, okay? I always think this, when did you buy?
Because I want to make sure it's the listing that I'm looking at to make sure that's like the last time pictures were put online. And that's when I ask, if there's anything that they've done to add value and updates.
And they're like, oh, what do you mean? What kind of updates? And
Kitchen and
I think depending on their personality, I even ask, since obviously they know what's happening in their neighborhood, how does their house compare to the others? Recent sales.
it's a great question. How, first of all, do you think, and that's the language, your house compares to the company? Have you seen anything online
Yeah.
that's your competition? How do you think? Drake?
So somewhere in there's probably gotta be, I guess it's in time frame, but I mean, kind of a direct, when do you want to have the house listed?
Yeah.
I guess that probably goes up in the Number
Yeah,
two.
that would be up here. You're
Somewhere
right.
in
Time
number
frame,
two.
yeah.
Like
Like
when
when-
do you want it listed?
When
Do
do
you know what
when do you want
listed?
to be moved?
I like sometimes moved as
Yeah.
well. Be moved or list.
I guess, I'd say that just simply if they say, well, I want to have it listed in a month, and that, then you're not going to have walls removed and, a kitchen totally redone in that month unless you are a contractor.
Correct.
Not going to happen that quick.
But painting, yes.
Paint, yes.
So yeah, up here it's like, when do you want to move? I tend to use probably move a lot because that's usually, it goes back to motivation. When they hear like their big why, and it's like, well, I want to be in for school starts. Okay, so you want to be in for school starts? Well, school starts like August 1 or August 5 in accounting, and then you're like going, well, how do you see that going? Do you want to move in enough time, or are you okay moving like the week before school starts? And then some people are like, no, I need a whole month to organize my house before I have to get ready for school. So that really is like end of June closing, which then backs it up. But anyway, no, I totally agree. So we ask up here, when do you want to move? Asking about the property, what else? You ask.
who else is the decision maker in the process? And are they going to be there at the listing appointment?
Okay, we'll hit that. That to me is like talking about the appointment.
Yeah.
It's just getting to the appointment ask. And I'm sorry, I'm writing really crooked. Okay, what else about the property? So you got the address, any updates? Like, I would say certainly like, whether it's the mechanicals they replaced, cosmetic stuff.
Age of roof, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, mechanicals like age of roof, your HVAC. Oh, I replaced that 3 years ago. Oh, fantastic, or my water heater. How about this? You want to ask like anything that you repair? Yes, that question? How about this question? What do you think is the best aspects of your house? And we sell houses, you buy homes. So what do you think is the best feature of your house? Anyone use that? Tell you, sometimes most of the time, almost like 99.9% of the time I'll ask that question because it actually tells me a lot, one, about the house, because I do hear some best aspects of the home. It could be, we have this great backyard, blah, 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 or it's the floor plan is really open for entertaining, blah, 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 because it helps me also going, this could be the target buyer, and I'm going to be, as the marketer and listing agent, the one that's going to kind of shape who do I foresee being the typical buyer of this home. But then I also understand these folks a little bit more. And then maybe what, if they're in love with like, well, it has sponge painting everywhere and it's canary yellow and this, and I'm going to go, oh, they're emotionally attached to some things that I have to somehow peel that emotional attachment away because I can't have the sponge painting everywhere and that canary yellow foyer, as soon as you walk in, your eyes are like going blind, and so I get to know them a little bit better with questions like that. Yeah, Stephen.
Would you ask about what the objections might be, any negative points? We have a cliff in the backyard, the yard floods
Yeah.
every time it rains.
Yeah. We can ask about, like, what are drawbacks? Or we can just say words like that, And most homes have a drawback, but, you can ask that. I would make it always sound nice, because it's still, I'm only in that first conversation. They have not signed a listing agreement with me yet. I can't sit there and talk about their baby and saying your baby's ugly yet when I haven't built trust yet. My whole goal is to build this consultation. This lead call is about what? Obviously introducing yourselves, building that trust, showing your professionalism, and obviously getting to know each other. So, but yeah, are there any, and I wouldn't probably say what are yours, I would probably say, are there any drawbacks to your house? Well, the backyard's really sloped, it's always been, that's why we're moving, because the kids can't play back there. Then I automatically know it's going to be, if someone has young kids, could be challenging. Now if they have like teenagers, it doesn't really matter, because they're playing basketball, or they're out and playing football at the school, and they're not necessarily always in their backyard. But, are there any drawbacks? That's probably better without, how about this? Does anyone ask about how much they still owe in the house?
Oh, yeah.
Always. And maybe possibly saying, like, within a ballpark, do you know what your mortgage balance is? How much you have left on your mortgage? What other questions you ask? Or are you asking these on this phone call? Yeah, Stephen.
On a cold call, it looks like somewhere along here you run out of time because the person wasn't expecting to spend 30 minutes with you, and you've got a lot of things on your plate to.
Then how can we I guess then the thing is, like, do you feel like asking these questions are important enough prior to meeting? I still have a few more questions before I meet them. We can get those in a minute. Do you feel like asking good questions is important prior to actually meeting?
Definitely.
Yes, everyone's nodding, yes. Okay. So if they're running out of time, I guess, which is possible, then how do we still look professional, prepare ourselves well, so we can walk in and have an A+ consultation appointment? Like, what should we do? How can we transition that? If they said, hey, I just got 5 minutes and...
Can I follow up with an email with a few more questions just to
You can
learn
possibly
more
do
about your situation?
Yeah, learn more about you, your house, and how I best can help you. That's actually how, like, maybe phrasing it that way. Or that we can do through email. What else? Like, how else can we do it?
We got to wind this up. I got to go. I'm walking out the door or whatever. Look for a telephone appointment, if nothing else.
And see if we can, hey, I get that. And you go, hey, Mr. Sala, I completely noticed no time. When would be the best time for me to call you back where we can have a few questions, maybe 15, 20 minutes, set an expectation that I have another 15 to 20 minute phone call with you. I want to make sure that I can come in prepared. If I don't know them, I would definitely want to make sure I'm coming in prepared when we meet, so that way our meeting is the most efficient. Because if they're like, I got 15 minutes, what kind of personality are they?
D.
Yeah, so what do they want? Efficiency. So my response to them always is, hey, can we schedule another 15, 20 minute phone call so when I meet you at your home, we can have our time together be very efficient, very effective, and I get to really highlight the most important aspects of the things that are most important to you. And then if someone said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, call me 15 minutes, fine, I can hit you 15 minutes. Better you talk to me for 15 minutes than be in my home for 3 hours. So, what else? That's very good, because some people aren't. How about, like, what other questions do you ask on the phone?
I want to know if they have a certain price in mind.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
I don't really
thank
care what their
you.
answer is,
What
but I just want
is
to see if
your-
they're realistic.
Okay, so how do we phrase it? Like let's talk about their list price. It may not be the right one. It could be dead on. But how do we ask that question?
Did you have a number in mind?
Okay, do you have a number in
Price
mind?
range in mind?
Yeah, you could say, do you have a price range in mind? Do you have a, that you want? Which could be going, their motivation is, I need to make whatever, $50,000 off the sale of my home because I really need to move to the next price point. If I move to the next price point, that adds to my 20% down payment. I don't want to pay PMI, blah, blah, blah. So, do you have a price range in mind? How else can we ask that question?
What do you ask? What do you ask?
Depends how the person is talking with me. So if they are a storyteller, or if they are one that I can really tell that they've been like thinking about this for a while, I go, you know, I'm sure you've been watching the sales in your neighborhood, or you've seen them online. So tell me, what do you think your home is worth? Well, you know, my neighbor sold at like $515, and then, but I have a better lot than them, so mine's gonna be higher. You know, of course, I bought a new water heater, so I'm gonna be like much higher. You know, and so, but they will, because if they've been thinking about it, they've watched the sales of their neighborhood. So sometimes I'll lead them with that. I'm sure you've seen online and seen home sales in your neighborhood. So tell me, what do you think your home should be priced at? Well, I don't really know. Well, what, then they want to gauge on it. What would you hope you can get? Not like, what do you know, but then change it to, what do you hope that you can get? Because at least I know how, before I walk in there, am I like bridging a gap from, like, my price is here and there? Am I bridging that gap, or are we really here? And that tells me, like, what kind of conversations I'm going to have at my consultation. Because if we're pretty much here, at that point, it's a different conversation. So, all right, list price. Do they know what they think their list price? Any other questions y'all ask? How about this one? I have two choices when I go to a listing appointment. I mean, really, I got one shot. I got one shot at a listing appointment. But my listing appointment starts really when they call me. And if they call me and I'm not prepared, guess what? You know what? Thank you so much for calling me. I'm really so excited to hear from you, and I really would like to talk more at length. I'm about to walk into an appointment, and I want to dedicate my full attention to you. Can I call you back at this blah, 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 blah time? That's whether I'm walking in or not. If I'm not ready for it, I'm about to walk into an appointment. I want to dedicate my attention to you because this is important. So are you available for me to talk? This way, I go, it'll probably be 20 minutes sometimes. I'll tell them, because I want to make sure I get through these questions before I show up here. But, all right, other thing. Yes, you.
Do you ask them what their plan is for after they sell their house, close it, and have no place to live?
That hopefully will, when they start telling me why they want to move, and maybe I hear a little bit of that. If I'm truly in a place where I can't talk long, I'll hear a little bit of this, and I'll say, hey, you know, I'm about to walk into an appointment. This is really important, and I really want to hear more. Can I call you back? And then I can hear like their biggest fear about selling. And if it's like, oh, I don't want to be homeless in between. So we can talk about that. But a lot of times when it's their fear, what is their biggest fear in selling, I want to address that in the consultation. But, okay, how about this? Asking, now, if it's somebody I worked with, in the past, hopefully I remember, which in my case I do. But if it's somebody I had not worked with, I always ask them, tell me about your last real estate experience. So if I didn't work with them, and I use the phrase, tell me, because I want them to explain it in their own language instead of, you know, I want them to tell me that if it was, hey, this was easy, or you know what, they just never called me back, I never got enough updates, I feel like all they did was put a sign in my yard and no one ever called me and blah, blah, blah. But tell me about your last experience. And if it's somebody I worked with in the past, it's like, you know, your experience in buying in 2013 is a different experience than buying in 2019. You know, or your experience in selling in 2015, 2016, and then now you want to go buy again is a different experience than 2019. Is that an accurate statement?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if I understood their experience because I was with them a little bit, this is where I can sit there in my consultation and say, hey, you know, in 2015 it was like 80% of the homes that was sold through like multiple offers, and I made up that stat at 80%. That's not an accurate stat, you know. But like, you know, but 2015, 2016, multiple offers all the time, and then it's few and far between right now. So they may go, well, you know, when I sold or when I was buying, I had to compete against this many offers, and the person didn't do any repairs, they didn't even pay, they didn't do this, and then I know I'm going to have to in my consultation bridge that gap. That says, hey, you know, 2019, it's not like constant multiple offers anymore. And as a matter of fact, no one's buying like canary yellow houses with red dining rooms and, you know, sold as is with no repairs. It's not, I mean, I don't know, y'all seen that happen right now? No. So, all right, these are the type of questions. Anybody else ask any other questions? Do you actually have questions written down on a sheet of paper?
It's pretty standard. It's not as in-depth as this, though. This is helpful.
I mean, do you how do you conduct your calls? And that is it just conversation and you start taking notes, or is it a matter of I have written questions, but you don't know I have written questions because I just sit there and have a conversation with you, but I may glance at them going just to more or less mentally check that I'm asking these, or kind of just hope we ask all the right questions? Or is this like too much?
Well, I mean,
No, I think-
you know, go ahead.
Go ahead, no.
First.
I feel this is the basics we should cover, and when we don't is when we don't get the listings, we are not prepared. And I think doing our homework before getting there and asking the right questions shows our professionalism, what we show up as. So I think it's, to me, it's right on.
Jerry?
So most of my, and you're talking about leads that just kind of come out random out of nowhere, but most of mine are coming from either people I know or people that are one-off from that people I know. So they're saying, come over, I want to talk to you. I don't want to spend this time on the phone. I need you to come to my house. So, you know, I mean, I'd like to
And
try
these
to-
are almost guaranteed you're going to get the listing.
It's not a guarantee I'll get the listing, but
Okay.
it certainly is I'm going to get the appointment.
Okay.
And they're looking for that appointment.
Okay.
So, you know, my real goal in all that is to become the only realtor after I get through with all that interview.
Right.
That's the big goal.
Okay. So, one more I do ask sometimes is like, I do ask, are you interviewing?
Well, the big giant sucking sound right now is, you know, well, you know, you're telling me I need to paint, I need to do all this stuff, and I'm going to call Zillow and I'm going to see what they'll give me for my house, and maybe I can sucker them into a deal I don't have to do any work.
Sure.
You're gonna make a lot less though.
Or the agent that's also out there selling their soul on this stuff and saying, oh, I'll front you the, you know, or some other organization will front you the money to do the repairs, and this will be hit the easy button on this.
So, that, like, yes, there are people who want, I don't want to do any work, and there's people like, you know, I'm okay doing some work. That to me is a consultation conversation. This is more like, these kind of questions are more like, let me get to know some things. So really it's about being prepared. And so how many actually ask this a lot of questions before they go to the listing appointment?
Try. No.
Not consistently,
Not consistently?
Not all
Okay.
of them.
just being,
Section number 2.
You ask a lot of these.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Do they have an expectation to know the list price when you're at the consultation?
Definitely.
Rephrase that.
We'll talk about it at the consultation.
Yeah, so what was the question?
Like, do you believe that the sellers have this expectation that at your consultation, you're going to tell them the list price?
Yes.
Or some range.
Or at least a range. Do most of you come in, I know we're skipping ahead, we haven't gotten to the consultation itself. Who actually gives a list price at the consultation?
I give a wide
I give a range.
I give
Give
2
a range.
options. I say, if you don't want to do anything, here you go. If you want to do X, Y, and Z, if there are X, Y, and Z, I do this.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told by a seller that they completely dismissed one of the people they were interviewing because he couldn't give them a number right then and there. And I kind of feel the same way as them.
I would think so. Like if I'm inviting you to my house to list my house, and regardless if my motivation is all about the money, I still want to know about the money. You know, because it's still like I have a motivation. Like my big why is, you know, I need to be gone because my job is now on the other side of the metro, and I'm not driving an hour and a half to work every day. I got a big why to get myself moved, but. Which means I may not be making the most amount of money is not necessarily my big why, because me thinking about commuting an hour and a half to work every single day in one direction is enough pain for me to move. But I still want to know what kind of money I may walk away with.
So how specific do you get on that?
How specific on what?
On list price?
I go range because I don't know when they're listing. So if we say, you know, like if it's right now, like I just got like this scenario, like I just got my job, I start my job like July 15th, I want to list like ASAP because I know I can put up with an hour and a half commute for like a month. I don't want to put up with very long. Mm-hmm. So I may say, so when I come with the price range as the listing agent, I'm giving you a 30-day price. But if you call me in January and say, hey, I want to move by the time before, you know, after school ends, but before the next school year starts, well, that's like, you know, that could be like a April, end of March, April listing perhaps. And this is January, you called me. So I may say a range, I will say a range then because I can't predict. I can only quasi-predict 30 days out. I can't predict 4 or 6 months out. I probably really can't even predict 2 weeks out, let's be honest. But it's better, it's easier, right? All right, so let's talk about this out. Is there, what kind of phrasing, so let's just say it's my past client calling me up. So this is obviously y'all's business in that you can, you know, you have to conduct it the way that you know, find it more successful. Like I ask a lot of questions even because for me, it's a confidence booster walking into a place. Although I've seen it often, I may have gone to dinner with their house like 2 weeks ago or something like that. I want to, especially to someone I know, I want to go, okay, yes, we're going to be fun, we're going to make jokes, we're going to have, you know, good times, we'll probably go get wine after closing, blah, blah, blah. But then I also need them to like perform with me like a professional and not like dilly-dally on stuff, and maybe they won't dilly-dally because they are having an urgency too. But I always feel that I want my reputation to be that Kelly is always so professional, her systems are in place, she knows what she's doing, that it's like they can refer me to another friend or a stranger, that it's like they know very distinguished lines, because when I'm out dinner with them, I'm not always talking about, like they'll ask me about real estate, that's how it comes up, but I'm not always talking real estate with them unless they ask me, and sometimes I do bring it up, but I want them to know that when the professional hat goes on, the professional hat's on. Mm-hmm. So even if it's a past client or referral, like depending on how long they've been in that house, like, you know, I could probably remember, I could look at their old paperwork and go, hey, you know, that roof was kind of aging at the time they bought it. And if it was already at the end of life and it's been 8 years now, it's possible they replaced it, it's possible they did it, but it will become a factor on the inspection and for that buyer, this listing, and so forth. Any thoughts on all this before we can move on, get into the appointment?
Do you have what's your diagnostic question with the seller to determine just how much honesty they can handle?
Yeah?
Because I've had several cases where they just, they got it in their mind they have an X value house and it's just nowhere near, I don't want to say nowhere near it, but it's 10 to 15% below that, and they deserve honesty from their agents, but
Yeah.
they'll go shop around till they find the one that will lie to them.
Yeah. I think your phrase is beautiful, what you just said. It's like going, I think you deserve honesty. And as your agent, that's what I want. I want to, going back to this motivation. So if their whole motivation is a dollar amount, then I go through, it's pain and pleasure. Listing your home is painful. Living through trying to sell your home, it's like having your house perfect all the time, people coming in and out, you always having to leave, especially if somebody has a bunch of kids. I mean, it's a painful process. So I would bring up pain. I would say I let them know I want you to make the most possible. I don't ever want to go, it ain't gonna happen, but I want to go, I'm on your side. I want you to make the most possible. That is my ultimate goal. And the market will ultimately tell me and you how much that will be. So, if they're like, the price is really, I go, it's listing your home it's a full-time job, even for you as a seller. Because, I didn't make my bed this morning when I left. I didn't. I'm just telling you. But it's like thinking through all the things they have to do is fix the kids' lunches and do this and this and this. But, am I going to make my bed every day? It's like, that's a painful process. If that is not somebody's, and if they are perfect, these people, we have these one sellers who are like, oh my gosh, they twins and a toddler. And I'm like, dang, your house is so perfect. But for her, it's still not perfect enough because she puts that much pressure on herself all the time. And I'm like, I wish all my people were as perfect as she was. But so anyway, to answer your question, it always goes back to what is their motivation for selling and why are they selling? And so if it's bridge gap, I think what you said, Drew, is perfect because there will be agents that will tell you what you want to hear or will do it just because they want to get your listing. They're not looking out for you. And I'm looking out for you.
Can you tell me again what you said?
Yeah.
I don't remember, that was 30 seconds ago.
When they have the unrealistic pricing and he said it's a 10 to 15% difference, for example. How do I...
Yeah, I've got a neighbor that, he thinks his backyard's going to sell his house. And I'm like, well, it's nice, but all that's going to happen is at least you don't have that speed bump,
Mm-hmm.
But, you're on the corner, you got a sloped driveway, you've got enough, and then the interior of your house is completely wood color. Completely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's 80s.
Yeah. And then you can start off with questions like, so, Ms. Seller, the one thing I forgot to do, I do ask this. When I ask, are you interviewing? I always ask, what are you looking for in your agent?
I do ask that.
I always ask that question.
What are your expectations?
Basically, what are your expectations of me? What are you looking for in your agent? And if they go, so if I want someone to really tell me what, my home is worth. Or I like constant communication. Or I like someone who really knows market stats. If I ask that question up front, I can say, hey, Mr. Seller, you are inviting me here because you're wanting somebody who really understands the Peachtree Corners market. And I sell whatever, I know Drew sells 80% of, really high Peachtree Corners, whatever his
Well, I
stats.
wish I did. Yeah.
Okay, really high stat. He sells a lot in Peachtree Corners. He's awesome in there. So you just say, I know this, I've lived this in my community, and so therefore, I'm going to give you honest stats about it. And at the same time, always let them know that you still believe in them and you still believe in their home. Because if I just sit there going, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, like nobody wants to be beat up every day. But if I say, you know what, I think your house is going to sell. And you want, like you invited me in because you are looking for someone who understands the market stats. So what the stats have been telling me is that while your backyard is fantastic, the sloped driveway is really challenging for a lot of buyers. And it may be one of our drawbacks. And I would have to phrase things in a way that I'm not beating them up over their drawbacks, but I'm letting them know that there's drawbacks. There's drawbacks. And there's drawbacks in every house. And even houses that we think are perfect, for somebody, they're going to like hate it because it's not funky enough. I mean, I got people who want funky, you know? And then I have people who are in love with stuff. I'm like, why are you in love with that? That's just weird. But they are. And it's okay. That's why we have lots of different houses. Yes?
A lot of times it's argued that using the stager allows you to have things said to the seller that you don't want to have to say to the
Correct.
seller. The same argument appears to me to apply to the idea of saying, look, what we're going to do as part of my pricing plan is we're going to hire D.S. Murphy to do an appraisal, and we're going to sell the house at market. We're not going to sell the stock that's trading at $1.19 for $200 a share. We can't get it. The market's going to tell us what we're going to get, and we're going to start off with an objective baseline called the appraisal.
It's possible doing pre-list appraisals. I think the whole goal is if we can start getting the seller to kind of start saying yes with us along the way, and I could build trust that you are really bringing me in because I actually understand the market, and you can have confidence in that I will study the market, I will know the market, I'll communicate the market. I would say this would be, you know, like that whole trust factor is huge. And if they don't believe me when I say that their driveway is sloped, or a lot of times they know that, because they've gotten tired of it one day. But, or if it's something they love about their house, I go, I will ask, that's why I go back to asking them, what do you think some of your drawbacks are? Or what do you think buyers will love about your house? What do you think buyers will find less appealing about your house? So you can phrase it in nice ways. So if they tell me, like, I actually do, like, man, I do love some good dens that do have that good pine wood paneling. Like, I'm old school, so I do love, like, my fireplace. You know, some people won't. But that's not the target buyer then. You know, because I may not always paint that. Now, if it's that 1970s and has that thick wood veneer on every wall and every bedroom and all that, I'm like, we're going to have to paint that. If it's that cozy den, maybe I can get away with that. Nice, beautiful part of pine wood, gorgeous. But then I know that's going to be a different kind of buyer. So if they say drawbacks, I had one client actually tell me that all of my cabinets are brown and I know everybody wants to buy white. And I go, okay, then we can make a game time decision at the consultation. Do we leave it that way and price it appropriately? Do we paint the cabinets? You know, you can make that's what your consultation's for. But if I can ask them, then if your question is like, how honest would they let me be? I try to get them to be honest with me first. And and it kind of tells me a little bit. Because if someone can't tell me a drawback, it's kind of like, you know, like, let's just say any kind of whether it's relationship you have, it's like somebody can't tell you one thing that's not perfect about them. It's like going, man, that's going to be a hard person to be in a relationship with. You know? Like, I know all your good points, but my goodness, we all have some stuff we have to work on, right? Same thing with every house. So asking that, then it opens the door for me to find out how honest I can be with them. Then I'm not beating them up over their drawbacks. And it's everything is like, you know, buyers today, yes, are like white kitchens or anything, but you know, quite honestly, there are buyers who still like wood cabinets. And I just have to know, is it worth it or not? Depending upon maybe my buyer. Maybe it's like the hot school district. It has nothing to do with the color of your cabinets because it's hot school district. But if it's in this area where everything is new construction, then it could be, I'm competing against new, but everything is white cabinets. So, all right. right, this is a call. Then we get the appointment. All right, Katie, you're talking about the appointment. Like, who's going to be there? So how do you like to handle your appointments?
What do you mean?
Like, you asked me, like, who are the decision makers? So how would you ask that? Go ahead.
Well, on the phone, I would ask if there's any other decision makers or who else is on the deed. Because sometimes you're talking to the person who's not even on the deed. And I have one right now where I still haven't met the husband.
Yeah.
We're under contract, we're gonna close, and everything's great. It's just, I still never met the husband because he didn't come to the listing appointment. So
Okay.
talking to him on the phone, it's a little bit weirder than talking to the wife.
Okay.
But
And that's, you know, and I found this, like, if someone's been married, I met like a client that was married, like, I don't know, they said 38 years or 40 years, a very long time. And it's like, he does this, she does that, and blah, blah, blah. They've been married 40 something years. And then, but if they're newly married, you know, it's like, especially buyers, newly married buyers, you need both of them there. Usually. Is that accurate?
Well, there's always one that drives the transaction.
Correct.
And it may be the male, it may be the female, and
Right.
you just need to figure that out, who it is.
So how do we figure out who's the one who drives? I agree with you. So
it's probably the person that you're on the phone with.
the first person calling you, yes.
It's probably that person.
Usually that is the case.
Yeah.
It's kind of the person that seems most concerned about the numbers.
Could be.
Sometimes, they're, I don't know, but that to me is, you know, I'm always looking for who's actually driving the transaction.
Yeah. So,
Because the other one will just go along with it.
yeah. This is way down here. It says drive the transaction. So yeah, you're right. So we have the appointment, and so you said, so you do ask who's on the deed, and ideally, like we could even ask this type of question. You know, throughout this time, there'll be one main person that I'll probably speak with, or how would you like me to speak with you? Put us both. Like I've had people we three-way in every call. You know, like I call the husband, he three-ways in his wife, and we're on a three-way call every time.
I usually ask what's the preferred method of communication, text, phone call,
Yeah.
group message.
Okay.
I have the younger couples that are doing the group message, that way they're all together.
Yeah, the grip me.
Yeah. Either that or they're just iMessages.
Yeah. So preferred method of communication now. We have a rule of thumb that like,
Yes, they do.
you know, like if it's feedback, that could be done through an email system. If it's like, here's your offer, let me write the highlights about the offer, that's in an email system. If it's a matter of talking through any kind of negotiations, the inspection I may send the report through email, may write some details, but like talking through negotiations, whatever, like certain things just need to be done in a conversation. Obviously maybe you're in front of each other, and not like, maybe the initial when we're wrapping up in negotiations, I can text, okay, they said 500, how about like 505, okay. And I could go back and forth on a couple of things like that, but meaningful conversations really need to be done on the phone or in person if you're there. But, so do you all ask to have both spouses there? If it's two,
At the appointment?
at the appointment?
Yes.
Yes, Lisa.
So what do you do in the event where one party, you know, one side of a married couple is really enthusiastic and the other part, like they still really haven't gotten their spouse on board?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question.
Yes, what do you do?
How do you all, let's hear from y'all. How do you get when one isn't really on board and one's not quite on board? How do we bridge that?
I would
This is once you're at
acknowledge
the
it.
appointment, or?
This was even before the appointment.
Yeah.
And at the appointment as well.
I think just ask questions and ask what the reservations would be from the person who's not yet on board. I've never encountered that.
And offer to have a conversation with them by phone too, just to learn more about them and what their reservations are.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like how else has anyone handled that? When spouses aren't on the same page? So we ask this question in our buyer's consultation all the time. So we'll hit buyers in a few minutes. But a consultation cannot end until someone at least asks this question. And it's like, how do you make important decisions in your life? And then I will even look, because you'll hear in the consultation if one's about to say this and then the other's about to say that, and it's like, you go, you're only like, like a quarter on the same page, and that's going to be really hard. So I can hear it, and then sometimes they'll say, how do you make decisions, major decisions or important decisions by yourself, and how do you make it as a couple? And I let them tell me, because the reservation for one person could be they just don't like moving. I have that client that the idea of packing up boxes, they would die in the same house, but the wife has been wanting to move for like 5 years, and that's a relationship issue that they have had to work through, and eventually he's like going to have to pack up some boxes, and he just doesn't want it. Like, I get that, like moving is not fun. So if it's more out of reluctance because they're stressed out by all the work involved, maybe there's an emotional attachment to something. Like, I built the basement myself. I need to know that. I need to know, when I'm working with sellers, where their emotional attachment is, because they have to start to like pull themselves away emotionally from this house. This is why painting is actually good. It helps them to detach from the house emotionally.
What helps them detaching?
Painting.
Like a neutral color throughout the whole house.
Oh.
Taking away the things that were like signature them. Like, that's why, like, taking down the family photos, the things that made this home their signature home, their signature things. Like, if they're like LSU Tiger fans or something. It's like if they start taking down their LSU Tigers, they're gonna walk through their house and go, oh, it doesn't feel like my house anymore. Yay, that's what we want.
It's not your home, it's just a house.
It's a house now. It's a house. We're moving from home to house. And now it's a product. We want to move, it's not, yes, remember and cherish the memories with your kids and your family, but eventually it's like, it has to become, I'm just selling a house. And I can still keep my memories. And I've had those conversations. You can still keep your memories. That's a beautiful thing. I'll give you the listing photos when we're done. It's my gift to you. I do. Yes, absolutely.
So do you tend to, when that has occurred for you, have you tended to sort of step back more and let the couple figure it out, or have you tried to make sure, as you were saying, that you fully understand the objections of the party? That's
a good question. So if I hear their motivation as to why they're selling, and if it's a compelling motivation, if it's like, they have to be somewhere because they do have a deadline, then that's always the best. So if they're not on the same page, that's for them as a couple to work out. I'm not their marriage counselor, and nor do I pick sides. That is not good. So, but if it's a matter of like going, I'm just having a harder time with this, it could be, this is where I like gave birth to my first child, and that's what they're dealing with. And it's not a matter of I don't want to move. It's like, it's just hard. It's just, and I go, I get it. And I have some empathy for them going, I get it. There's some beautiful memories here, isn't there? And I let them, sometimes depends, maybe I'll let them tell me a memory or two. I'm like, you have some beautiful memories here, don't you? Yeah. And then I'm like, we're going to make some other beautiful memories in your next home. That's what, and I always go, this is why I love my job. I bring it back, this is why I love it. I get to help people make incredible memories. Something very significant in their life, their home, their house, and it's like I can bring it into going, I feel it with you, and if it's just like some people like just have bad marriages,
right?
I can't fix that.
Yeah.
I just know that's what I'm gonna have to work through, meaning like spouses don't communicate well or at all, it's just, I understand that they've been living that way for 20 years. I can't do anything about that. Other than I am fully aware that I may have to repeat things multiple times if they're not. And that group text or group email. I do believe in this, like a lot of times it will be, like I may call up the husband or whatever, and we're the ones do a lot of the talking. But anything important, I group text everybody and I group email everybody. I am not calling your husband. We're talking business, but I group text you all or email you. That's fine, I'll call your husband, talk through the contract, but so same thing, and then you'll eventually find like how couples work. I may ask that question, how do you make important decisions together? how do you guys, let them tell me how their relationship works. Because I had, interestingly enough, been selling 2 properties with the same couple. And one was his property when he was single before he was married. But the house that we just sold as a couple, the wife was the whole thing. And she's just better at handling stuff. Like, he doesn't handle stress very well. She does. So I was talking to her, our group text, so they're both on the same page, group emailed them, updates, but when it's through the details and stuff, I talk to her the entire time because she's just better at handling the details and the stress. And then now it's his place. She wants nothing to do with this transaction. That's when it was his place when he was single. So obviously, she even told me, it's Eric's place, just, you don't have to put me on this anymore. I'm like, okie dokie. I'll just talk to him and group text him on the updates. I'll probably congratulate her when we close too, because it's sure it's taking stress off of their marriage, I'm sure. And obviously they're gonna make a little bit of money, quite a bit of money on this place. But to answer your question, ask them. How, tell me, like, how do you make important decisions together? Let them tell me how the relationship works.
I mean, do you ever use you guys need to be 8s, 9s, or 10s with things before you do things? You need to, especially on decision of, do I want to move or not? Because there will typically, if you can get them all at 10, that's great. But usually one of them's a 5 and the other one can't wait to leave.
I think that's actually not a bad method. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about moving? And one can say, I'm a 12.
Because sometimes it makes husband and wife actually be honest with each other.
Correct.
Which they haven't been.
Correct.
And so he may dial it back a notch, or she might dial it back a notch if she's been driving him crazy to move. And look, I just don't want to go.
And then if you don't, I think that's very fair. I love that. On a scale of 1 to 10, tell me how badly do you want to move, or what, And if he's like, honestly, and he's like, well, I want to do it at a 5, and then you can state the obvious. Wow, okay, sounds like there's a conversation that you both need to have, and it's okay. I'm still here. I let him know I'm still here. I'm not judging you because you got like 1 to 12 and 1 to 5. I'm not. But you're right. It does force people to be honest with each other. Steven.
Well, I like your idea of trying to find out who the decision makers are, who has a special interest in things. Like the woman you mentioned, she takes care of all the details.
Mm-hmm.
But part of asking the question appears you can get real specific. How do you make decisions? How do you answer questions?
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm going to ask you about staging your house. Well, here's what's entailed.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be the go-to person for that
Always.
subject?
Always.
Who's going to be the go-to on price?
Yeah. Or price, I always dance on price a little bit more because I do like both of them be involved on the price. But the reason why is the market's going to decide price. Who do you want, when we get the offer, who do you want me to call first? That's the better question. When we get the offer, who do you want me to call first? Oh, we'll call, Grant, because Grant's going to throw it 3-way in Stephanie, and then we always have great Stephanie and I always have 3-way calls. It's just how it is with that couple, and they're fantastic. But I like to go, when we get the offer, who's the first person I should call? That way, they tell me. So here's the point of this, and we're going to get on buyers, and then our time's almost up. But I think you can now even translate this from what you learned with sellers to even buyers, because the more questions I can ask, the more I get them to explain to me about them and how they work. Because if it is Steven mentioned that somebody goes, hey, I'm about to walk through the door, I got 15 minutes, then I know that I'm not having an hour and a half conversation with them every time we talk. These are 15-minute conversations. And then I go, okay, I can work with that. I can work with somebody who wants somebody who talks fast, who can do this, and then I know, and this and that. Then I know I can slow down my pace and I can talk with them. And it's the more they feel like I know them, and I ask them the questions to explain stuff to me, I can navigate this transactional aspect to it. I can tell them that their baby is ugly. If they already start to confess to me the things they know they don't like about their house. I'll tell you the things that I don't like about my house. Or if they can't admit one thing, I have to see this house, and it better be pretty darn perfect. No. Yeah, Lisa.
I think that really builds on the very first question that I asked about how to really qualify, because I know we didn't say that that's exactly what that was, but some of the answers
Yeah.
looks like they're here, but they may only be right here right now.
And then that's okay, because I've had those clients too, and I meet them and they're like, really, my life circumstances are really busy right now. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for you. When you're ready, I'm ready. Because I like sales in 2020. It's kind of nice to wake up January knowing you're going to have some business. So, questions on listening. Now, consultation. How do you walk into a consultation? Like, you got your appointment set, you show up and said, hey, we're going to meet consultation today, 5 p.m. What's the first thing you do? What do you bring?
Make a list.
I bring comps and something to write on, that's kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
Tax records.
You have that, tax records, yeah. What else? Hopefully a listing presentation book, whether you go through all the pages or not, at least you have one, right? You have a collateral that you leave with them?
I just put everything in a Keller Williams folder. I have like the marketing plan, comps, tax records,
Business card.
stats.
Yeah,
I always have stats in there. Some people like them, some don't.
yeah. And you may use some, you may use all of them, you may use one, you may not, I guess. But, consultation. So we can get to buyers in a minute. Anybody want to go in depth on consultation, or do we touch on that or not, or go to buyers?
Listen to consultations if anyone else is interested.
I'm trying to refer all buyers.
Whoops.
I'm trying to refer out listings.
All right, well, we'll take your buyers that you want to refer, because we like
Yeah.
buyers.
That's been like a big part of my anxiety recently, so that's why the focus is on calls for listings and not picking up this.
Anybody wants to refer our buyers? No. They'll probably kill me for saying stuff like that, but that's true. All right, consultation. So you show up. Okay, what do you actually do? It's like, let's say you've never been to this area, or like it's not like a past client, it's somebody new. What do you do?
I go see as many active comps as possible.
Yes.
And then on the printout I print out to show them when I'm going over the comps, like the listing, if I were doing a showing, and I write all the things that I think are great, drawbacks about that house, and then what I know about theirs, like how it compares.
Yeah.
So that it looks like I've done my research.
Yeah. So when I ask the question, I actually try to have a very lengthy, before I set an appointment, I like to have a very lengthy conversation. And I can do this in 15 minutes if they are able to answer quickly. If not, it could take 30 minutes, it could take 40 minutes, but I try personally not to skip too many of these questions. Because when I actually start hearing about how much money do they think their house is worth? Tell me about their list price. How much money do you think your house is worth? And then I started going, so I tell them, I end this conversation, or we set the appointment, I go, here's what to expect next. I go, I'm gonna, between now and say I talked to him today, I have the appointment on Thursday, which I like to have my appointment as soon as possible. I don't care if you don't wanna listen until December. I want an appointment with you like ASAP. Because as soon as you meet me and I meet you, we can build that relationship and we can bond and we can be besties, and then you're gonna still list with me in December versus walk through an open house and have someone else try to pick up their business. So, but that being said, when I hear this true story last year, I actually knew the neighborhood because I have sold this neighborhood. I did not help these people buy this house. Another agent did. I did ask why they didn't want to work. Tell me about their last experience. Why are you now going with us? I know why. I learned why they wanted at least an interview with us. And that being said, what do you think your home is worth, or your house is worth? And they gave me their price. And when I looked through the comps, and I was like, oh, dang, I think they're like overpricing. And I gotta tell you, like half the homes that we're selling were these open door homes, which usually don't mean great condition. So, and they're on the market. So I actually, in this case, I did start walking through it. I wrote my notes on it as to drawbacks for the home, positive about all the competition and that, because I had to go and see for myself why they thought their home was worth so much higher compared to that competition, and I needed to know. And then when I went on the appointment, I said, I really think we can get blah, blah, blah number. As a matter of fact, that house, we actually did get multiple offers on it, because it really, if you looked at it just in FMLS, you would not price it well. You actually have had to go into these ugly open door homes and to see the difference. But if it's an area, even if it's somewhat an area I've known before, like if my appointment is at 5 o'clock, what time do I get there? 4:30? 4:30? What's that?
4:30, really?
Maybe not to their house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I get to the neighborhood early just to
Oh, yeah,
Drive
I
around.
on
drive.
time and
Yeah.
not stressed to get there.
Drive around, and I actually see the actives. I drive by the active. I at
No,
least
I think
want
you're like parked outside for 30 minutes, like as a
Oh,
seller.
I
it would
park
give me
outside
anxiety.
sometimes for like good solid 10 minutes.
That's fair. 30 would give me anxiety. I'd be like, why is this lady?
Yeah, then they're freaked out. It's like someone showing up early for their party. You're like, I'm still cooking. I can't have you come in. I'm still cleaning. Yeah. But that being said, like, you know, I look at the neighborhood. I drive around, especially if I've not, and you know, if I didn't sell their home or if it's been a while since I've been there, because the market's changed a lot. So, you know, so it's like sometimes neighborhoods have like really excelled and gotten so much better. Some neighborhoods have really declined too in terms of like upkeep and all that. I kind of drive around a little bit, look at it. I want to know if new retail kind of went near by that area, you know, things like that. So then you all show up to the consultation, get up to the front door, you say hello. What's the first thing I'll do?
Put everything down on the kitchen table.
Find out where you want to land, correct? Afterwards. What else after you do that?
Walk around and look at the house through the eyes of a buyer.
Oh, and let me back this up. So we end this conversation, before I end the conversation to have the appointment, how many people tell them what to expect of the consultation? Briefly, yeah. What do you tell them?
That we're gonna look at the house, I'll show them the comps, and then we'll decide if we wanna work together.
You say that, okay, that's cool. That's good.
Because then they're kinda like, you don't wanna work with me? Haha.
Yeah,
Not if you're unrealistic.
like if you said this to like a D like this, I'd be like, well, you know, I don't think I'm gonna work with you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just cancel tomorrow.
Well, I don't say it, I don't say the rest of that to them, but I just say, well, you decide if you wanna work together. And they're like, okay. But I think it kinda makes them stir, why wouldn't you just wanna take my business?
Sure. That's called a close. That's a type of close. There's like lots of closes. That's a close. That could be a good one. I'm sure it has. You've done well. How else? What else do you say on the appointments? Get off the phone and you're gonna set up the appointment. What do you? Does anyone tell them what to expect with the consultation? Lisa, you almost kind of like had your hand up a little.
I was trying to think through, and actually, I mean, a lot of this conversation has made me think about just sort of sometimes how much I drive things a little bit organically and really need to lock down my systems, I feel like.
And I think that's okay, and that it should feel organic. But it's like anything, like any kind of system we have in place. Like, you know, we all have systems. Like, guess what I did this morning? I woke up. This is what I do because my phone is like what wakes me up, my alarm. And then since it's there, I saw that I had like 30 like messages on stuff of like clear out all the push notifications. And then I look through my email, going junk mail, you know, and like the 20 Facebook notifications. And I clear all that out. I go get up and make some coffee. I go sit on some coffee. Then I look at my emails for a minute and blah blah blah. Like that's a system. It's called habit.
Okay.
So I can make everything, and that's organic. I can tell you that's organic. That's just kind of what I just naturally wake up and I do. And then eventually I jump in the shower and all that. You know, before I leave the house, I brush my teeth. Doesn't matter because I've been sleeping on coffee all day long, all morning long. That, you know, I do that last. So, but anyway, that's organic. So like if I have these questions already inside me, it comes across organic. So when I leave a phone conversation, I just say, hey, I go, really look forward to seeing you and meeting and seeing your house. I let them know I want to see their house. I mean, I look forward to meeting you and I want to see your house. And then I just say, here's what to expect. You know, when I get there, I'm going to want to walk around. I'm going to find out about your home, put my eyes on it. I'm going to look through it from an eyes of a buyer. And what I know buyers today are looking for and what the market is going to tell us. Then we'll sit down and go over probably some more questions. We'll talk about the market stats. We'll talk about your neighborhood. And I want to hear more what's important to you in your move. Because I have to let them talk in the consultation, because if I do all the talking, it's not a consultation. Mm-hmm. You know? It's because what I want to do is build trust and dialogue. So, and that's where I just say, and then we'll talk more about what's important to you and, you know, that you want to move because the school you need to get into the school district. So I want to hear more about that. I'll let them know. And then, you know, I say, I'll probably come in with a price range. It's hard for me to know the exact pricing of your home if I've not seen it or have not seen it in a long time. Because it's a home I sold like 5 years ago, 10 years, or helped them buy like 10 years ago. It's been a while. And so it's hard for me. So I'll usually walk in with a price range. And just so you know, I'll probably leave the house and then call you back later with a follow-up to tell you what I think I really should list it for, or we should list it for. Because then now I'm already setting expectations. They're going to get a follow-up call from me, like after the appointment. And it's like, you know, and I find agreement. You always want to find agreement. So, hey, does that sound good to you? And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Good. Is that what you're expecting? Is that what you want? Is this what you hope for? And then then if they have an objection, they'll tell me immediately. Great. I know what I'm working with. Yes.
You like to start your presentation with control of expectations.
My listening consultation? Well, if I ask all these questions, I know what I'm going to highlight. So if I know we're going to be pretty much on the same page on pricing and stuff, then I'm going to talk all about marketing, and I'm going to spend some time about what we need to do, and I'm going to talk about timelines, and I'm going to talk about next steps on my timelines, because I know price-wise I'm not overcoming that. But if it's like, I know their house is perfect and beautiful and all this other stuff, but money, like we have some distance to go through on pricing, then I'm going to like get into a conversation more about pricing. Yeah. All right. Questions, thoughts on this, and then we'll hit buyers from it. And you all can go wherever you want to go. But questions, thoughts on this. By the way, I actually have sheets. Y'all want to know, I'm a person who's winged everything in my life, but I actually have made sheets of stuff. So I actually get them to ask me questions. Usually, I like them to ask me if they're interviewing. I usually like to let them ask if they're interviewing, and I go, well, why don't you go ahead and ask me the questions you want to ask. So I like them to ask questions, get that off their brain first, and then I'll go into my presentation. Because then they're going to go in, and if they bring up commission stuff, I go, oh, I have that in my presentation. Can we touch base with that a little bit later? Fine, okay. But if it's more like going, how do you like to work? And it's like, oh, well, you know, I like to communicate and stuff. Because if I had asked them what's their expectation and what are you looking for your next agent? And they told me, well, you know, we like constant communication. I just want to know that you're going to, you know, inform me along the way. Then therefore, when they ask me again, you know, well, tell me, how do you like to communicate? Or how do you like to, you know, what sets you apart with other real estate agents? You know what I really like to do is, because it is true, I won't say something I don't actually do. You know, we believe in constant communication. You will hear from me when anything important, I'm gonna pick up the phone and call. You can reach out and text me or call me or email when it's important to you, but you need to know that I will let you know every Tuesday a status update, and I go ahead and just tell them what I'm gonna do. But I know what I'm gonna highlight based on what they told me is important to them. And if they said, you know, what's important to them is, like, look, I don't want to be hearing all the details. I just want to hear the highlights. I'm like, great. I'll keep you important. Keep you informed on the highlights. So, questions, thoughts on any of this?
Thank you.
Helpful, not helpful?
Yeah.
All right, buyers. I know it's time, but anybody want to touch on buyers for a minute? I'm happy. Or you can all go whenever you want to go. You're welcome. Again, what you get the buyer phone call, lead. What's the first conversation you have?
I mean, it sort of follows the same outline.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Just on the reverse. What are
Just
you
reverse
looking for
it.
in your home? What's
I still, like, before the buyer comes in, we actually still like to ask them, tell me a little bit what you're looking for. You know, what's important to you? You know, like, do they have a price range in mind? And you know what though? I usually like to talk about, or payment. Because for some people it's more like, I want to have this monthly payment. They don't know what price that actually means. Now I can kind of know, and I can call a loan officer and find out.
guess, have you been pre-qualified? It's not on there on that end, but.
Have you spoken with the loan officer yet? The answer is no. And then I can decide based on, if it's somebody I've worked with in the past and said, hey, remember you worked with this, steward, you want to call steward, or if it's someone I don't have a relationship with, they go, hey, that's quite all right. We can talk about that when we get together. Because if it's like, I have to build trust in this relationship first before I can start demanding them to do things for me. But then once I have trust, I already have their permission to therefore ask them to do things, which is like, go get pre-qualified. We're not looking at houses until you do. But we've already come to an agreement on that. Yeah. What else?
In the last week's time, I run into 2 almost identical events. First time home buyer, and each case is a guy and a woman that'll move in together before they're married. And one just signed a lease, so he's a year out.
Yeah.
Except that I've talked to Supreme about the economics of cutting the lease because you've got all sorts of financial benefits that otherwise you give up on.
Mm-hmm.
The other person thinks he's a 2-week window, but he'll fall under the same Supreme argument. And so when you've got people that are thinking they're that far out, they don't have the money, they haven't looked at it seriously, but they know they want to buy a house together. Any thoughts?
What makes the best decision? Thoughts. Like, honestly, I have that conversation. I go, well, what makes the most sense? Because if prices are going to go up, which they still will, and interest rates are probably staying flat or maybe going down a little bit. But it's like, if it's a matter of, does it actually make more sense to start your look now? Or do they have a very specific home that it's going to be harder to find, that we better always having our eyes aware, because when the right home hits, they got to be ready to go. That's why we're consultants. We're really trying to advise them as to what really is the best decision to make. And sometimes it is waiting to the end of the lease, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is like, especially the past couple of years when prices were going up every month, I was like, it may actually be better if we go ahead and try to buy now before prices are higher even next year. Maybe they have a compelling reason. Like they're, in this case yours aren't married yet, but if it is does it make more sense to move into the home pre-wedding or post-wedding based on how their whole life situation is, because that's a lot of stress all involved and all that. Questions, anyone else? We can call it a day.
So do you call them in to the office for buyer consult?
99% of the time, yes.
You do?
Yeah. I need, one, it's better to do it here. We have all the stuff here. We got computers here. We got all that. 2, it shows a level of commitment on their side. And then pretty much after that, we pick them up. So it's not, sometimes it makes sense we all meet in the office and then we go in one car, but they know this is their first time. They're coming to me because most of the time I'm going to them, usually.
And the mixed thoughts, some people say let them ride separately and some say have them ride with you. What do you do?
Always ride with me. And the reason for it is one, I want them just to look around. I don't want them to be, I'm gonna focus on traffic. I tell them that I'm in the car. Look, I'm gonna let the GPS lady talk to me because I'm gonna stay focused on watching traffic and talking with you. So that way I let the GPS lady tell me how to go. So if she takes me a crazy route, it's like the GPS lady's fault. Took me a crazy route. Because I'll even do that going, well, she really did take us a different route than I would have done it, but you know what, let's just keep going. And I'll say that stuff. But quite honestly, it's because how can I don't want to have them, they're going to go home at night as a couple and have their own private conversations.
Sure.
I want to have as many conversations, their private conversations, I want to be involved in many of them as possible. And that's why we can have it. And I get to know them. That's how I get to know them. That's how I can get referrals. Yeah. That's why. Now, if it's the one house right after work, blah, 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 that's a different story. But if it's that 2-3 hour, 4 hour showing time frame, we're in my car. If they have car seats, I may jump in their car. Sometimes I don't want children with us because it does make it really hard to find a home. But if it's like a newborn baby and you can't not have baby there because it's a newborn, then it's then either they can put the car seat in my car or I'll hop in their car. But I try not to have children with us at all. Because then you have to worry about kids, which you really do, like jump on other people's couches,
Yeah,
like
breaking things.
they walk into the kids' toy room, the other boy, oh, Mickey, and they start playing the other kids' toys, and you're like, oh my gosh, you can't be playing other people's toys that we don't even know. We don't know these are strangers to us, you know. So no kids. And I have since learned to tell people no dogs.
Yeah,
I know, it is amazing.
that's a hard one,
No dogs.
because the dog lovers, I
Yeah.
had somebody who had two big, large, one
Well,
had
and
a
then you
golden
can I think it's cruel to leave dogs in their car. We can't bring it in someone else's home, and I can't leave dogs in hot car. I think it's cruel. So please, you know, but we've actually had to tell people don't bring dogs now. I didn't know I had to until recently, but we did, because they did. They showed up one time, and then from then on, was like, yep, no dogs. So, thoughts, questions, anything else? Yeah.
So, going back to my earlier question, so you find yourself in a year-long training environment where you're constantly dripping things and coming up with things to be talking about to keep the interest peaked. If they're interested in a certain area, send them stuff in the area, send them something on price, get them in here with Supreme, get them pre-qualified or pre-approved as part of the process.
And then I let them know if it truly is a year out that we're probably going to have another like revisiting the market consultation. I don't use the word consultation on the second time, but I let them know we're going to have another one. The market's changed in a year. The inventory is differently. So I just ask those questions. I go, here's how I like to stay in touch. And I can say, I will, you know, given that we have a little bit of time, this is what I recommend. Why don't you drive around the neighborhoods, these next few months? And then let's just get on the phone and talk about it. And or email me after you do it. And then after we walk around that, I can set you up on a search now, but honestly, if I don't think it's best to set up on a search, I don't. I'll just say, what I like to do is just, you know, let me tell you about some neighborhoods and areas. You drive around, you let me know what you think. And if it is best to have a set up on a lower search, I go, give me the feedback on what you're thinking. Although the inventory will change by the time you're ready, you want to hear your thoughts. And that's why I don't like inventory way too early. But I will tell them, drive around, tell me what you think, let's touch base again. And then if you see something online, I always let me know that interests you, because I want to see what you like. And then if you feel like going to open houses, tell me that you're going to go to an open house. I want to know, I always phrase it, I want to know what you're looking at. And then we can go, depends upon if they really don't know an area, I may do one day where we survey the area. And then I make sure I do get it in some kind of buyer's agreement, because if I'm taking a Saturday to show you around, and then you may not buy with me for a year, there's too much stuff that can happen in between all that. But then, I let them know it's just about getting to know the area. It's not about finding the house. And then I let them know before we end the consultation, but if you want to close in December, ideally, we really need to be walking through homes in September, October, because we really want to be under contract by no later than November, maybe end of October for that matter. Depends upon early December or late December. You know, so I back it up. Knowing if we're going to close in December, I need 30 days out to close, so that means we need to be under contract, give myself a 2-week window margin that way, which means I need to be out a little bit of time. And if I know my market, and I know there's not a lot of homes on the market, I may have the search window maybe this long. If it's a lot of things can fit their criteria, I can say, okay, we can start looking in October. But if not, I may go, we may want to start looking in August, because it may be a while for the right one. You know, and that's where me knowing the market. And I go, start with the end in mind and back it up. And then in the meantime, it's drive around, and I tell them, I want you to tell me what you think. Call me, email me, whatever. I want them to get back in touch with me. And I said, I will touch base with you.
Another thought, in the spirit of staying in touch and having a decent excuse to be talking to somebody who thinks a year is a long time, how do you feel about the idea of a screen share? We're going to have a phone appointment. You're going to look at my computer. I'm going to walk you through what you've done, what you've
I would rather bring them in the office and actually do it, teach them the in
You
person.
got people that are telling you that, hey, I'm a year out, we don't need to come to your office. You know, you're trying to convince them to school up early and, you know. be on top
The
of
phrase I like to use is going, I have from experience, I've always found that is for my clients that are year out, from experience, they have always told me that we sitting down together on the computer has really helped them manage how to handle it throughout the year. And I always go, from experience, my past clients who have been out a year have told me that this is best. And if they're still not going to do it, not to say I'm a no to working with them, it just tells me a lot about them. And they go, some of it's legit. They just think, oh, you're later and stuff. I go, then I would have, so like, I still want to do this, but like, when would be the one, like, in your, I go, I have an idea what's the best time frame for us to start to sit on the computer together. But when would you think it's the best time that we get on the computer together, Mr. Buyer? Let them tell me. Because a reason why I want to do it now has nothing to do with finding a house when they're looking a year from now. The reason why I want it now is because I can build a rapport with them now, so when they walk into open houses and there's a stellar agent there that's trying to, or a new agent who doesn't have a lot of business yet, they're trying to win them over, like, I've already won them first. That's why I want them now. And honestly, sometimes it is best. Because when they sit there and tell me the whole scenario, I go, you know what? This part of town is blowing up. If you want to get in, you better get in now. And maybe, you know, I can build the advice, and the longer I know them, the better I can advise them. And so the phrase is, you know, experience, and my clients who have been in similar shoes as you have told me that this was best. So, all right, we good? Helpful?
Yes.
Not helpful?
Anything
Good.
that you feel in your buyer and seller consult that we should have asked you and that you know is a practice that has worked well for you?
Get them to talk more. Like, ask them more questions to get them to talk more. The more they talk, the more you learn, the more they feel connected with you because they're the one that expressed themselves. And I said, get them to talk more. Talk less, let them talk more.
Do you feel like that attitude towards talking increases the bonding opportunity?
If they talk to me more, they will feel bonded with me more. So. All right, awesome.
Thank you.
It won't be the first Monday of August because they have a CE Fair Housing credit that day. It'll be like the second Monday, but email will go out.
Thank you.
So, cool.
Do you tend to lean toward doing a lot of preemptive work?
Always.